Hi guys, so I thought I'd do a quick video on the North Coast 500 that we're planning to do in a couple of weeks. And you can argue it's only Scotland, it's not that far, there's help, there's petrol stations, there's all of that. But ultimately we've been kitting the truck out to do some more extreme, longer trips, more remote. And in many ways the North Coast 500 is a practice for those trips to see how we get on. So we're going to be taking a lot more stuff than we actually need to take, especially in the way of food, supplies. We're planning on 10 days worth of rations, etc. To prove the theory, to prove that we can do it, because next year we're hoping to do a Scandinavian trip where we drive up through Sweden, Finland, and then back down through Norway. So this is a test and a family holiday and hopefully a good time. Touching wood that nothing goes wrong with the truck or anything else like that. So I thought I'd give you a quick rundown on what we are expecting, planning, hoping to do in Scotland, and a quick look at the kit as well that we're planning on taking, or the list of the kit. I'll do another little video before we go on the actual kit, and just to give you an insight on what we feel overlanding, touring, whatever you want to call it, is. So I'll spin the camera around and I'll show you the map. Okay, so I apologise about the shaky camera because I'm filming this on my phone, but so basically we'll leave home down here, all the way up the M6 to Glasgow, up through Stirling, onto the A9, and up to Inverness, where we'll get off the main roads, go find a Asda or a Tesco or whatever, fill up with fuel, get anything that we've forgotten, and then we're just going to head a few miles out of Inverness up to this area, a place called Fortrose, where we will camp for the day, because we're going to drive up through the night, and I prefer to do that because it's cooler, less traffic. Hopefully Julie and Alfie will be asleep, so I'm not getting are we nearly there yet, and I need a wee and all of that, although we will have some stops on the way up obviously, but I can just crack on and get the driving done. So we'll get there, set up camp for the day. Julie and Alfie will probably go off and entertain themselves because they'll have been asleep on the way up, and I'll get my head down for a few hours and then enjoy the day. The next morning we'll get up and we're going to head up the east coast first. Now, a lot of people seem to do the North Coast 500 clockwise. I would prefer to do it anti-clockwise because I've spent a lot of time in Scotland over the years, climbing, mountaineering, things like that, and the west side is far more interesting than the east, far more scenic and all the rest of it. So I want to get the east side of the route sort of out the way, and then we can enjoy our time, our 2 weeks holiday, slowly working our way around the rest of it. So we'll head up the A9 all the way up, stopping if we see things on the way to have a look, have a break, have a brew and all the rest of it, to John O'Groats, where we will stay on the campsite, and the next day get up and go on a whale watching trip. There's apparently in the Pentland Firth there are good chances of seeing whales, killer whales and things like that. So, and then we're going to head off along the north coast, and I'm not sure how far we'll get along there that day, but somewhere along there we will stop and do a wild camp, and So somewhere along there we'll stop and do a wild camp along the north coast, and we may take 2 days getting across here, or we might take one. I don't really know. That we don't want to set a hard routine because it's then not a holiday. We really need to slow down. I haven't had any time off this year, and if I've not been at work, I've been working on the truck, so it's time to slow down, chill out, enjoy it. Whether or not we camp by the coast or we come inland a bit and camp in one of the forests along the here, I don't know. Probably depend on the weather and what takes our fancy, really. And then we're going to head across to Durness, which is about here, I think, from memory. Yeah. Where, again, we'll stay on a campsite. And there's some tourist attractions there, like Smoo Cave and other bits and pieces that we can go and look at and enjoy. And then the next morning, break camp again and come down to this place here, which is called, bear with me, Keeldale, I believe it's pronounced. And from there you can get a ferry to Cape Wrath. Now, Cape Wrath is right out here. You cannot get your vehicle there. There are only 2 vehicles here, and they're minibuses. And I believe there's a hotel on the Cape and the lighthouse. And the only way to get to Cape Wrath is to get the ferry and then either pay for a minibus, which takes about an hour and a half, I believe, across a pretty rough track, I'm told, to the Cape, or you can walk. But it's about 6 miles, so 6 miles there, 6 miles back. It's a long day. But that's something I want to do. You're all the way that far north anyway, so you may as well get on with it and do it. It's a long way to go back if you don't. So then after that, and we get back to the truck, we'll find a wild camp somewhere in the area, find a track, forest or anything, just pull off and do that. And then the next day we're going to head to Sandwood Bay. Now Sandwood Bay, this beach here, is meant to be the most beautiful beach in the UK. You can't drive to it. The only way to get to it is either by boat, or you can park your vehicle, I believe it's here, and then you walk in. It's about 4 miles, I think. You can walk in. We're going to spend the day there. Hopefully the weather will be good. But it's bright white sand. I mean, it's stunning. And then after that, another wild camp somewhere on the route south. And we'll just keep heading our way down, finding things to do, snorkeling, climbing, walking, just enjoying it really, all the way down to, there's a B road that goes off around here, and it's advised, the B869, that's it, and it's advised that you don't do it in anything bigger than a like a T5 camper. Apparently every year camper vans, motorhomes and all the rest of it gets stuck and it blocks the road and everything else. So I mean, we should be okay in the truck, take it steady, quite a lot of switchbacks, steep gradients and everything else. It's a bit of a mountain road, and find our way around to the shore campsite, which on the satellite and from what I've read and everything else, it looks absolutely amazing. It's a campsite right on the beach, and it looks absolutely brilliant. So we'll camp there. We think we're intending on having a couple of nights there, and then we'll carry on south again, all the way down. Wild camping. There's plenty of campsites as well. If we decide we want to stay at a campsite, we'll just keep coming all the way down, and then we want to do a detour across to this area here, Ristol Isle. And apparently at low tide you can practically walk out to it. But we'll have our wetsuits and our fins and a dinghy and all sorts of stuff, so we'll get out there, and then I think we'll go spend a day on this beach here, perhaps explore the island, a lot of bird life, things like that, probably see some seals and things, and then we'll carry on down, find some more wild camps along the way, and then we get to Ullapool, which is our planned restocking point. So we're anticipating a nice slow pace, all the rest of it, enjoying it all, taking 10 days to get from Inverness round to Ullapool, where the supermarkets, etc, etc, and we might even eat out that night, and then resupply with whatever we need. And then I wouldn't mind doing a detour right out here to this remote lighthouse. It looks like it's a good place to do a wild camp, what have you, and there's lots of stunning scenery along the route. And then we carry on down, and eventually we get to Applecross, which is pretty much the most southerly point of the North Coast 500, and the route then in theory takes you back to Inverness to complete the route, and to do that you need to go over the Balachna Bear, which is, if you can see it on the map, this tiny mountain road. It's one of the most dangerous roads in Britain, very high, lots of switchbacks, steep gradients, etc, etc, and it eventually brings you down back onto the main roads, and from there most people would head to Inverness. We may do, we may not, we may just head south from there, back down to Glasgow, come home. It's a bit of a contingency plan that if we want to spend more time up here enjoying ourselves, we can cut the holiday, or not cut the holiday short, but not do that piece there back to Inverness. We can save this day, use it up here, and then drive back down to Glasgow and back down the M6. So that's a rough itinerary of what we're planning on doing. There's a lot of holes to fill in, but like I said, we don't want to make it too rigid, too strict, because then you're tying yourself to a schedule, and that isn't what it's about. It's about getting out there and enjoying it and just going with the flow. So the rough kit, I mean, this is the kit that we're going to be taking. So we've got tents and shelters, we've got sleeping equipment, obviously personal stuff, we've got climbing equipment, obviously clothes for us all, camping equipment. It's pretty much cooking, walking equipment, tools, spares, and I might do a video actually on the tools I'm intending on taking. I've done a fair bit of work on the truck now, and I've got a rough idea of what I think I'm going to need. I'm sure there'll be something that I haven't got should I break down, but so that's the tools and greases and bits and bobs that I think we might need. Miscellaneous stuff, you know, fishing tackle and all the rest of it, and then food, which isn't highlighted because Julie's taking care of that. Basically whatever is in yellow we've got, whatever is in red we haven't got, we've got to get before we go. So we always put a lot of planning into our trips, a lot of research and a lot of effort, because the more you put in, the more you get out. And by knowing what's on the route and the things that are good to go look at and the attractions, if you've got a bad weather day, you can say, right, well, we're in this area, we'll go look at that castle or that cave or whatever. You've got to be flexible, you've got to be adaptable when you're out basically living out the back of a vehicle for 2 weeks, and not always on a campsite. I think the rough split between campsite and wild camp on this trip, I think, is going to be around 50%, maybe actually a bit more wild camping than campsites. But the campsites are there. You know, we've got my boy's 10. He wants to play with other kids, and you know, if we're by a beach, it's a family holiday, not a pure out and out expedition. But as I said at the beginning of the video, it is a test to see if we can do 10 days, to see how the truck performs, etc, etc. And then next year we're hoping to do something a bit more extreme in Scandinavia, with a lot more wild camping, a lot more remote, not so much help around, etc. So I hope that gives you a rough idea of what we're intending, and obviously we'll be doing lots of filming on the way around, and I'll put together a video of the trip, and it'll probably be in several parts, because obviously 2 weeks filming in one video, you'll probably be watching it for days. So and I'll try and condense it and put the best bits in and what have you. So yeah, if you like what we're planning and you like the video so far, then please subscribe, hit the like button, and watch this space. Cheers.